This is Kevin O'Brien. I'm here today in Berlin with Karsten Mühlenfeld, the director of Berlin's new airport that's supposed to open next year, the Berlin-Brandenburg Willy Brandt International Airport. Mr. Mühlenfeld is a native of Berlin. He's a construction engineer, and for years he worked at BMW Rolls-Royce, a maker of aircraft engines here in Berlin. Mr. Mühlenfeld, thanks for your time today. The airport was supposed to open about 5 years ago. It's been plagued by delays and construction scandals. The costs have skyrocketed. You now say the airport will open in the second half of 2017. When will the airport open?
Oh, that's a question which I get every day, but I will start slightly different, right? My first point would be I'm not only responsible for the new airport, I'm also responsible for the old airports out of the 1970s. Very important element because the Berlin area is growing. We have grown our passenger numbers at Schönefeld, where we are today here, by 12% over the last year. So it's really rocket science what we really achieve here. And that without actually growing the airport itself. It was initially designed only for 6 million. Same for Tegel, which is the most known airport here really. We have there about 22 million passengers today. It was planned initially only for 6, so you can see even while we didn't get really new buildings and there were only temporary buildings created, we smoothly use these airports and we increased passengers 5% every year over the last 13 years. So just only put it in context, not everything on airports is difficult here. On the current established airport it works very well. We are growing faster than Germany, so that's a good thing. Now of course we would have preferred to have already finished the new airport. But you have to take into account that this is a very complex project. First, in Germany, all the rules for smoke detection and for fires in buildings, especially in airports, have changed after the problems in Düsseldorf some years ago. And all these new requirements came on us, which we had to fulfill here at the airport. So that's one of the difficult issues. Second issue was that the airport was planned much too small. So during the build-off, at the time where already concrete was poured out, they started to redesign the airport to make it bigger. They increased the size actually of the airport by a factor of 1.5 from 220,000 square meters to 360,000 square meters. So you can see they changed the design, we got new rules, and all of that in one go on an already running building project is difficult to manage, actually not acceptable. You would never do it with your own house, and that's one of the big reasons why we took longer than initially planned.
We visited the construction site yesterday. It does not appear close to opening. Are you confident this airport will open at the end of next year?
You know, we have there always a special sentence for that. We always say there's still a chance to open in the second half, but I will also claim that there are a lot of risks still in the building. There are still some smoke issues which we haven't solved, where we're still working on. The airport is the first airport which is sitting directly on the train station with a free stair between the station and the airport, and that produced some complex smoke detection and smoke distribution problems in the building, which we have not solved yet, where we are in deep discussions with all the stakeholders. And actually, it's not one stakeholder which you talk to, because you have the authorities for airports, you have the authority for building construction, you have the authorities for train stations, and you have the train companies, Deutsche Bahn itself, which are involved in that project. So that makes it also very complex. Difficult project. Difficult tasks. We hope to solve that in the next 2 months, but you know, with these complex issues, we have a lot of engineers which are working on that, but that doesn't mean you find a solution.
So the plan is to open in the second half of 2017, but there are these issues and it could take longer.
Yes.
What role has corruption played in the delays and the cost overruns?
I think on any big building construction, you will find some corruption. But I don't think that it has actually affected the issues which we have on the airport significantly. Yes, there are some issues with some companies. There was a company which went bankrupt and we had to recover that one. We had some situation where actually there was also some persons who tried to win some money themselves out of that one, but I don't think that it has a big effect on the building itself. It does not have an effect on the timing which we needed. It's just that what you very often see on projects. Nevertheless, we introduced a big compliance department in the company in order to make sure that we find them. And the good thing is we found these issues, right? In a lot of other big projects you will never find it, you never know about it. We found it, which is good.
Last week it was reported that one of your construction engineers was poisoned on the site. Police said the engineer was involved in an attempt to clear up a corruption investigation. What role do you think organized crime has played in the delays here?
So first, about the person, I can't say anything because the police is still determining what's ongoing, so therefore I can't claim anything. I personally believe we had not a lot of crime here so far. That's the first issue where we really found out something like that, but we found it again. The police is now working on it. Let's see what the result will be.
The airport's owners, the German federal government, the city of Berlin, and the surrounding state of Brandenburg, decided initially to supervise construction of the airport themselves instead of hiring an outside company. In hindsight, do you think that was a mistake?
Absolutely. But not only because of the construction element. You have to see also the other thing, that there were a lot of changes in the building design during the construction phase and during the time where they also poured the concrete already. Now, if you would have a company which would be totally responsible for it, nobody could do that anymore. They would just say, I have a contract, I don't change anymore. So all these changes came late. The second element was also that they had a planning company which also planned then the technical elements of the building, and they got bankrupt. If you would have had a big company who was running that all, they wouldn't go bankrupt. They would have to go forward, they would have to deliver. And we see also with big companies that you have delays, like the Hamburg Philharmonic building or other buildings. You see that there are still delays and discussions. But if you have a firm company who has built already another airport or another big building, they are much better positioned to run such a project than somebody who has never done it before.
Berlin is a growing city. Most growing metropolises have a second airport. Think of Paris, think of London, think of New York. Doesn't it make sense to keep Tegel open?
Look, I have a supervisory board who decided in the past that they close all the other airports than this one, so my task is to get this airport running. The airport is from size designed enough in order to cover for the next 10, 15 years passenger growth which we will have in the region, so we can live with that. Perfect. And I can't comment on the rest.